After a long hiatus and on our off year in the summer, we are back with This Week in Missouri Politics. I'm Scott Faughn, joined by Representative Ken Waller from Jeffco. Representative, you have came on this show when you were in county government and state government, but today's a special time. You're here in the beautiful red, white, and blue jacket to make an announcement.
Yeah, I have decided after a few months of prayer and just talking to my wife and family, and I decided I'm going to run for the state senate in District 22.
And District 22 is most of the Jeffco. There's a little bit of the southern part that's not in there, but pretty much Festus up 55 North, right?
Yeah, the southern part's held by Senator Mike Henderson, and he's doing a great job supporting that part of the Jefferson County. So the rest of it is my district. It's the one that was held by Mayor Elizabeth Coleman, who's still in office, but has said she is not seeking re-election. So after a period of time, it took me a little time to get there, but I'm excited. I am ready. I got my red, white, and blue jacket on. I am just ready to get out there and campaign.
We really are about a year off from it, aren't we?
We are just about a year, about 13 months.
So as you look at this race, you have ran for several things. This is the biggest office you've ran for. What goes into that decision, and what made you ultimately decide this is the right time for you to run for state senate?
Well, the first thing, and you got to just be transparent, I looked at this thing and said, if I don't do this, will I regret it 5 or 10 years from now? Yeah. I've been in politics for almost 20 years in Jefferson County, and I've loved serving. I've held 4 different positions, which is kind of crazy.
Well, folks do what those are.
Treasurer back in 2004, county executive for 2 terms in 2011 to the 18. Then I was the county elections clerk. And then I became state rep in 2022 in the election. So people might say, well, you're just looking for another job. I beg to differ. I take every one of those places that I've been at, and I've learned so much in each one of them. And I think now is the time for me to run, to be a senator, to take all of those things that I experienced, from budgetary things to election things to invest in money. And I think all of those things that I've done in the past will be a great reason for me to be successful in the Senate.
So tell folks about your family.
Married for 35 years to a wonderful country girl from Macomb, Illinois. Have 3 children, a girl and 2 boys.
I do.
The boys actually work for the big fireworks warehouse up there in Arnold, Fireworks City. So when you see a big sign, they work really, really hard. Tom Dixon and Mark Lloyd, you guys, I imagine you've met them before in your endeavors. My daughter works with her husband out in South Carolina, Charleston. They work for a church. A guy called them into the ministry years ago, and they work for a church called Seacoast Church. And they are the ones that have our grandchildren. And they have a almost 3-year-old daughter, and my daughter is ready to have another one here in December. So I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time in the latter part of November, December before we go back into session and the election things get really heated up. So I can't be more excited.
Holiday season in the Waller family, right?
I love it. I was out there last Christmas, and there's just nothing better. I'll tell you what. I don't know if you've ever been out there, Scott.
I have.
Maybe you'll have to take Casey out there. But I'm telling you, Charleston is a beautiful town and rich in history, and it's close to the beach.
It was interesting. I was out in Fort Sumter.
Yes,
he took me out once actually.
Yes,
and when I was out in Fort Sumter, I was looking around, and you look for the names. I saw the name Kehoe on one of the soldiers that died at Fort Sumter.
Yeah.
It really, Fort Sumter to me was, you could just feel the heaviness of the history when you're on that island.
Sure. And I've had the full support of my family, especially my wife. Before I came up here today, she said, just go get them. This is the first day. Come on your show to announce this. Obviously, press releases and radio shows and different things, the media will follow. I've kept up. It's the #1 race in the state.
It is.
And I am excited. I believe, based on me getting in the race, people might say, well, you're trying to brag. No, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just talking about the history that I've had in politics. I think I'm the front runner. I've got the name ID. There's a lot of great candidates. Jim Avery, I like the guy. David Castile, like the guy. Renee Reuter, even though we had our differences whenever she was on the council, we became pretty close friends, and another great candidate. So
it's one of those things that I've watched people in politics, and you have a disagreement at one time in your career, but as you go on and you realize you have a lot in common, you work for some of the same goals, some of those folks you had those rivalries with become your friends.
And you know what? I've gotten close to her. I mean, I respect her and the job she's doing up here. And, she's running for the same job. So I have nothing but good things to say about all of those people, and I'm looking forward to it. The two things that kind of help sway.
We're talking politics right now.
Sure.
Probably with your history of countywide election victories,
Sure.
the more folks that are in, probably the better for you, right?
Well, the more folks that are in, and one thing that they're not talking about it, Scott, and I'm going to talk about it now. The election in August probably will be a very high turnout. And people will say, well, no, the numbers usually are around 20, 22%, 25% on an off-presidential year primary. I'm telling you, if the abortion issue is on the ballot in August, that's going to drive probably double. It's probably going to double how many people show up to vote. 50, 55%. I'm not saying that that's how many is going to vote, but it'll be a bigger number than 25. And I think the bigger the number, plus the number of candidates, I think that would obviously help me with my name ID.
We talked about where this seat is, but this seat has a great legacy to it. I mean, you go back into former Governor Nixon, Bill McKenna, Ryan McKenna. Those are some of the people that held this seat. There's been enough time passed now that you can really look back and see you have very big shoes to fill.
Sure. Yeah, and the issues that was important back then, which was the abortion issue and the Second Amendment, is still important. It's just changed who's in those seats now. They're Republicans, not Democrats.
It's interesting. Folks in Jeffco, you have a lot of Catholic communities.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Arnold part is kind of growing a suburban part, but when you get down to Herculaneum, I mean, those are Jeffco folks. You get that beautiful Elks Club you got down in Festus. I mean,
yes.
And to me, those folks, my whole life, have been pro-life and pro-gun. They used to vote for Democrats who were pro-life and pro-gun. Now they vote for pro-life, pro-gun Republicans. They pretty much haven't changed.
Yeah, and you got to remember back in the day, you had the days of Dick Eberhart and Joyce Abusi.
Dick Eberhart,
remember those?
Be pro-life.
Yes, there was a lot of changes, but when those people ran the Democratic Party and Jefferson County, they wanted to make sure Jefferson County stayed Democrat. Well, eventually that changed, and Dick Eberhart retired. And then it started to change. Myself, Mark Mertens, and Daryl Missy got elected. They always joked with us. They said, well, it's a felony to be a Republican. Now it's not a felony nor a misdemeanor. It's just everybody is Republican down there. And I don't really see it changing anytime soon. It could have changed in the future, maybe, but I really don't.
Everything changes, but I'm not sure the folks in Jeffco have changed much.
No.
The national parties have changed. And
no.
They've stayed the same.
Sure.
But let me push you a little bit. You're going to be on a lot of shows, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. Not everybody in the media is a conservative on the issue of life. Where are you on the issue of life, and will you be supporting the initiative or the ballot measure that'll be on sometime next year?
Sure. Well, yes, and I've been pro-life. My voting record shows I've been pro-life, and I think that we just have to continue to focus on. We can't get away from that, not just as Republicans, but just as conservatives. That's not an issue that you have any area where you can be on one side, a little bit.
It does seem like it's a tight, compact.
It is, and I've gotten a few calls that don't like, what I voted on as far as the amendment, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to protect life before I'm going to do anything else. And answering to God and answering to my constituents are the first two things. And that's a tough call, but that's where I'm at, and I'm not going to change.
Second Amendment. There's a lot of different ways to look at the Second Amendment, right down to SAPA. Aaron Dorsby promoted that a great deal, came very close this year. Where are you going to be at on the Second Amendment?
I'm for the Second Amendment. I mean, there's different areas of it, like you said, but I'm not a gun toter myself. I don't shoot any guns. Not that I wouldn't like to do it. I like to fish, but, shooting guns. And so I'm going to be as strong a Second Amendment guy as you can have.
Let's talk about the budget. You're a guy that it's always good to have folks that have been in local government come to the State House. They know what it's like to balance the budget. Some folks get elected, and sometimes when you're dealing with $50 billion, and it seems like the numbers just overwhelm you. But this state's budget's going to have to take some managers to take the lead, because the good times are over, right? Between the economy coming back down and the tax cuts you've done, the state is going to have to stretch those dollars.
Well, this was a tough budget year with the budget cuts and what the Senate and the House, the disagreements they had, and then the governor's vetoes. I mean, it's all about how much money's there and what we're going to do with it and how far can we stretch it. And I'm concerned. I've got one more year in the House, obviously, Scott, but then if I win the Senate seat, I got 4 years in the Senate. I'm concerned about the revenues and where we're going to be at. I've supported the tax cuts, but we have to make sure that we find either ways to increase our revenues. And of course, that's economic development and different things happening. But I'm concerned, and I think my experience as county executive, $100 million budget is not a $50 billion budget. I get that. But the principle's the same. You have to find out where you got money coming in and what's the things that you need to fund, not the wants, the things that you have to get done. And we're going to be, I think, in a world of hurt if we don't do that in the next couple of years. Now, revenues may increase. We may see a surge, and that's all good.
I asked Governor Keogh this. Do you start to worry? You've cut taxes, right? There's been no growth. Do you start to worry as a party that what we want growth? There's been a lot of promises. If you cut these taxes, there'll be growth. There's no growth.
No, I know. It's a very, I say, delicate time.
Yeah.
It's probably the right word. I think it's going to improve, but it is a little bit of a delicate time, and we're just going to have to work through it with what we have and the money we have. Are we going to make friends from the lobbyist all the way down? When we have to cut something or something's not going to get done? But that's what your job is. That's what your responsibility is. And I'm going to have
your job. Probably the biggest issue as a senator is moving the previous question to end the free and fair debate of the Missouri Senate. Where do you come down on the PQ?
Boy, I knew he was going to ask me that. It's a tough thing.
It separates the senators from the representatives. It really does.
I don't like it. I think the debate's good, but then sometimes if you continue to debate it, at what point in time do you stop? And obviously in the House,
when Jay Dixon was in your Senate seat that you're running for, he didn't. Bill McKenna, I don't believe he did.
Yes. You're talking about them doing a PQ.
Ryan McKenna. Don't remember one from Ryan McKenna.
Yeah, I would have a hard time doing it myself. I understand the reasoning, but it's used quite a bit in the House to move things along. But at what point in time? I don't see myself personally doing a PQ if I become senator, but I think you just never say never. You just have to look at the situation, see what's being talked about, and see how important it is to move on from that subject.
Representative Ken Waller, good luck in your Senate race. We hope as the race unfolds, you'll come back here and talk with us about it on this week.
Well, you guys have said it's the number one race in the state, and I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to enjoy it. My red, white, and blue jacket's going to be out in full force quite a bit. I've actually got a new one you'll like. It's a purple. It's a Joker out. It's a Joker jacket. The Joker movies from Batman.
Oh.
So yeah, you'll have to.
The last time the Joker was on a TV show, he shot the host.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Or this one.
No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, but you'll enjoy my little thing when I get it, and I'll be sure and wear it the next time when I come on the show because I always enjoy you.
We'll have Jake host that day.
That's totally fine. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much.
I'm excited. Thank you very much, sir.
We'll be right back with our opinion maker panel. Sharon Jones joins us after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
Some politicians claim cockfighting is a proud tradition, but is it really something to be proud of? Cockfighting isn't just cruel to animals, it's cruel to humans. It's linked to organized criminal activity, illegal gambling, even drug trafficking. Leading law enforcement and Christian groups have spoken out and are urging a stop to the violence. But some politicians want to give cockfighters a pass. Keep cockfighting out of our state.
We have a severe weather alert to report here. The storm is also bringing the threat of damaging winds and large hail.
Here's the thing. When storms bear down, we step up.
Ready to get?
You bet.
Our teams are always ready to keep your power strong. Ameren.com/poweron.
Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics, the week before the State Fair. Opinion Maker panel time. We're going to try to fish an opinion out of Chelsea Rodriguez. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sharon Jones, legal, political, I would just say life expert.
Aw, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Kyerra Johnson, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Running for office, how's it going?
I'm excited. I'm ready.
I like that.
Yeah.
And the man who's written more maps than Magellan, John Ratliff, Republican strategist extraordinaire. I was so glad you were free this week. You know the state, not just know it. Like, I know where the good bars are and where you can get a good cheeseburger and where you can fish at. You actually know the state on a mapular level. The plan came out. The president, I guess, decided that Missouri, he's going to have his nerds in Washington draw a map, and then in the Missouri legislature, he's going to rubber stamp it, right?
I think that is a hope that the president, there's a couple rumored maps out.
Who has the guts to stand up and say, we do our own thing in Missouri?
I think politicians, when they start to see their mortality, become very self-interested. And I think there are several senators who are going to be terming out that, most senators view themselves as the governor, congressman, something else someday. And their last opportunity to affect that opportunity is maybe redrawing these maps. We saw how terrible it was when we tried to do this a few years ago. Now, some of them, this is their last bite at the apple, and they might have a chance to draw a map that gives them a great opportunity, especially if we're creating a new Republican district in this state.
Well, that's what led to, just for folks that may have not heard, the president is concerned about losing the majority. Mm-hmm. New York wrote a very aggressive map for Democrats. Illinois wrote maybe the most corrupt thing you've ever seen to benefit Democrats. The president wants Texas and Missouri, maybe other states, but for sure Texas and Missouri to draw their maps just as corrupt as Illinois is to elect Republicans. We have a 6-2 split right now in Missouri. This would be a 7-1, correct?
Yeah, so the idea is to draw a 7-1. So in Texas, I think they're looking to pick up 5 districts in Texas. To do that now, Governor Newsom in California is looking to undo their program or process they have, which is very similar to the way we draw the House and Senate maps in Missouri. That's how they could draw congressional districts in California. And I think something that Republicans should be afraid of is that if we do this, there's a decent chance that Democrats are going to bring forward an IP in Missouri for next year that would then take out, the way we draw congressional, take it out of the control of the General Assembly and put it into control of the
wonderful idea.
When Sharon and I drew a map that for the first time in 40 years had a unanimous support and has maintained a Republican supermajority, so I'm okay with it.
All right, Sharon, I understand why I think it's a terrible thing for the state. Yeah. But I go back to, if Donald Trump says jump, they're going to say how high.
Yeah, I think that there's a really good chance that we're here for a special session on redistricting.
It's going to happen.
I think that what you end up with, everyone keeps saying a 7-1 map, a 7-1 map. I think what you're actually looking at is like a 2-5-1 map, where you end up with a bunch of swing districts.
If you don't care about communities, you don't care about your constituents, you only care about doing, this map will be drawn in Washington, not the good one on the Missouri River with the train and the great bars. It'll be the one in Washington, D.C., the terrible one. The swamp will draw this map. Yeah. They will send it to Missouri. They will say, get this done today, and they'll get it done before lunch.
They'll get it done, but I think they'll be really upset with what the actual result is. Because
who's got the guts to say anything?
Instead of 70% districts, you're going to end up with 55% Republican districts.
I think it'll be a little higher. Chelsea Rodriguez, I know that you are a passionate Democrat, and I love that about you. I do think it's awfully hard for Democrats to say this is wrong when you just have to look across the river and you see Sauget and you see a bunch of a terrible baseball team in the Cubs and the most corrupt maps in the entire country, maybe the history of the country.
Yeah, it's always fun when I get to teach you a history lesson.
We do.
You're, an elephant in the room. But this is a modern iteration.
Our weight joke.
It's an age joke.
Okay.
But the modern iteration of this redistricting war actually was a Karl Rove birthchild of red maps in 2010, culminating in the Supreme Court case in Wisconsin. So this is actually just a repeat of the swamp back in 2010 that came from, the Bush era. And if you also look at why we're doing this or talking about doing this, which I think a couple of us have already hit on, it's mainly to maintain control of power when they know that their agenda is so toxic. It's repealing the.
Why did Illinois do it then? I probably to maintain control, right?
I'm not, I'm worried about what's happening here in Missouri, and I'm really worried that you guys are cheating because your agenda is too toxic. You can't keep control.
All right. Well, folks in Illinois drew the most corrupt map I've ever seen.
Well,
I think it was to keep control.
Illinois, well, I think that that's a really good point, and that's what I've been thinking about, honestly. You talk about history, I'm going to talk about a movie. There's a movie that specifically states that sometimes quitting while you're ahead is still winning. I think Missouri is in a place where we're already winning. We're already a red state. We don't have to do this. We already have control. So the question for me would be, is it that Missouri wants control? Or is there something else that wants power?
But let me just ask you, you're going to cut Kansas City up, right? You have to cut it 3
You
ways.
have to.
I think that's where it starts. No matter how you go after that. You've got John Patterson, could run for Congress.
Yes.
Very talented guy, can raise money. You've got Curtis Gregory, especially if you went out west to Columbia, where he's a football star. You have Tony Luetkemeyer, who's expressed interest in several different opportunities. Very talented, good fundraiser. All three are from that Kansas City-ish area. I know Curtis is from Marshall, but those three, somebody's going to be the beneficiary of this 7-1 map. My assumption is one of those three, right?
They definitely can benefit. And I think JP is in a unique position being in kind of southern Jackson County. So the biggest problem is when you talk to someone who doesn't spend forever drawing these maps or no populations of counties, like, oh, we can just move over here. Well, most of rural Missouri, most of counties actually in rural Missouri are smaller than precincts that exist in Jackson County. And so when you start moving these pieces around, where Pulaski and Phelps County go matter a lot on how you draw a map. Where you put Boone County matters a lot when you drew a map, where Cass County ends up. And so you start having to shift to get population balance with RPI. A map, again, a strong map could go down and split the 7th, in which you put Joplin, which Joplin has always felt like the stepchild of the 7th, right? If all of a sudden they're drawn into southern Jackson County, that is a good Republican district. It's a lot harder, actually, to draw a strong Republican district statewide that does what, some have dubbed the Curtis Gregory district, because there's not enough population there to truly, you can do that, but when you do that, you're giving up parts of St. Louis County.
And today, Chelsea, I just don't see anybody standing up and telling the White House no.
No, I think that's the problem, right? They're just going to
Show me the guts. I don't see it.
Yeah, there's no one willing to stand up and say, but what's good for Missourians? What's good for Missouri families? And that's
just as there was no one in Illinois willing to stand up and say, what's good for people in Illinois?
Talk about Illinois because we're not able to talk about how.
Well, the Cubs are 10 games ahead of us right now, so yes, it's on my mind.
And isn't that wild? We're taking advice from a bunch of Cubs fans, or we're copying a bunch of Cubs fans.
Yes, we are copying a bunch of Cubs fans. Carry into the day. I mean, you work in the Missouri Senate. The House will do this is a very House thing to do. The House does these sort of gimmicky things, partisan. The Senate normally didn't. Who's going to say no?
You know what? Honestly, I think that Kehoe's voice is going to be the driving force.
I think Kehoe's going to do that.
But I say that because there's a lot of information that's just not there yet. When we talk about redistricting, there's stipulations in place that
Senator Mike Kehoe, I think, says no.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to put it past Kehoe, because I think that Kehoe's a really great guy, and I think that when we don't have enough data that shows what the population, if it's increased, decreased, or any of that data to say that we should go and we should do waste money and do this, because that's personally what I feel like. I don't think that it's necessary. We have 2 more years. We can keep going and we can see what's next. Missouri is already in control as far as the Republican Party. None of this is this extra. I think it's fear, honestly.
Prediction: by the time folks are trick-or-treating, you will have an Illinois-style map in Missouri.
Well, I think if the Republicans, no one grows a spine, we're probably going to have one.
By the time folks trick-or-treat, will there be a Illinois-style map?
I think one will have been passed by the legislature.
The lawyer you. What do you think? You think this doesn't happen?
I'm actually going to go with Sharon.
You think it happens, but the courts fight it out. Of course, they'll fight this out for sure. What do you think?
All right, 100% the map's going to be drawn. The only question is how strong it is. And while I love Chuck Hatfield, I think, again, as I said a second ago, I think you could have an 8-0 map. And with the Supreme Court, I think we'd get it done.
I think there'll be a 7-1. I think no one will say anything. I think they'll all fight in the back room to get their district. But if you're John Patterson, you just move.
And
as a physician, he can move where he wants.
The big assumption.
You also don't have to live there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can just move his house.
Yeah, exactly. The big assumption actually is that the president will support not the strongest map. And I think the president can support a map that maybe the delegation doesn't like, but is an extremely...
Who in the delegation going to say no to him?
Well, no, they won't. They might not like the map, but...
They won't like it. All right, real quickly, who's the beneficiary? Who's the new Republican member of Congress?
Oh, that's good. It's going to depend on who fights it out and who wins their map control.
Who's going to be the winner of that fight?
Tony Luetkemeyer.
Who's going to win that fight in the best?
Stole it, but I'm definitely going for Tony.
See,
You think?
same.
I think Shoney, if he can be a winner anyway, because I think Congressman Graves, especially if we lose the majority, will probably find a new home. And Tony is the strongest candidate up there to kind of take that out of the gate. I think the question is, does Speaker Patterson think he has a better chance in Congress or in the state Senate? I think he has a better chance if he chooses to run.
We'll go Curtis Gregory, John Patterson.
Sure.
Sam Page, St. Louis County Executive, had a bad week. There was a proposition the county council put on to attack him, to be able to fire his department heads, and the county paid for a mailer, basically saying don't vote for this. It was wrong, but the attorney general came in, and boy, Andrew Bailey just doesn't lose.
Well, you know my feelings about Attorney General Bailey and his ability to run that office. On this particular case, he is in the right. Page broke the law. It's a pretty clear example to me. And it's, I know you're the baseball guy, but it's an unforced error, right? Like he could have paid for that with any number of other funds. He's got plenty of money.
School districts do this all over the state. It's also wrong. Just don't, right? Just don't do it.
I'm mainly interested in how this is going to impact statewide law and how we deal with this stuff statewide. I think it's been noted all over Twitter and in Scout this morning. This is a thing.
It'll spook folks, right?
Oh, I hope so, right? And we now have a quorum on the ethics panel, so hopefully we're going to be enforcing our campaign finance law a little harder. But in this case, Andrew Bailey has a history of making political attacks, so I want to see if he's going to hold everyone to the same standard.
Andrew Bailey doesn't lose.
I think Andrew Bailey has a lot of ammunition in North County itself to do what he's doing. And I can't say that what he's doing is wrong because what's wrong is wrong. I think that Sam Page played the sacrificial lamb in this, and he did what he felt that he needed to do to get the information out there in order to sway voters in whatever way he wanted them to.
Yeah, with a minute left, who won the week?
Oh, I think Chuck Hatfield and political consultants around the state and the current
lose him any week.
Yeah, I think he won.
Who won the week?
I'm going to say Josh Hawley. I had a great experience with his staff this week.
Who won the week?
I'm going to say Rita Days.
She was on this for a long time. Who won the week?
Political consultants who are going to make their money redrawing our maps.
I'm going to say Josh Hawley. It didn't win the week much on this show, but the RECA stuff he brought home, getting rid of grain belt, and he's the only one in the whole delegation that said, hey, this Medicaid thing is going to really hurt Missouri.
So you're familiar with the $4 billion he helped?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I credit Josh Hawley immensely for bringing home money that, if you don't bring home money to the state, why are you going out there? Right. But I do want to end the show on a sad note. State Senator Mike Moon lost a son this week, very tragically. I want to just say I think everyone's thoughts and prayers go out to Senator Moon and his family. We hope you'll join us next week from the State Fair with Governor Mike Kehoe on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, the United Electric Cooperative, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.